One thing I wish all companies would invest more in is training. You want to know why things aren't working the way they should. It's probably because your employees don't know what to do and your leaders don't know what to do either. And really, what I've seen through my consulting practice and the rest of my life is that if you really want to solve these problems, the best thing you can do is train employees. And today in this video, we're going to talk about 2 case studies of different clients I worked for and their approaches to training. And hopefully you can see things that they did that maybe they shouldn't have done, things that they did that worked well, and hopefully that'll help you make better decisions about training initiatives. If you're new, welcome to Lunch Bites and Leadership Insights. I'm Stacey Oliver Canapa. I'm an expert in, what am I an expert? Business consulting, especially helping organizations through their people processes. And the point of Lunch Bites and Leadership Insights is when I was a leader, I didn't have a lot of time, and I certainly had a hard time taking a full day out of my world to go to a training, but I ate lunch at least most days, and I had at least 15 minutes to kind of think about a question or get a question answered. And that's the idea here. In 15 minutes or less, I'm going to give you a point of view of a frequent question. So we'll get started. Ground rules for the 2 case studies. So there are similarities to them both. First, they are not compliance training. To me, compliance training is really something you should do separately because it's so critical to many things in your organization, like culture and keeping you legally safe, all that stuff. So this is kind of, I would call, a benign skill-based training. They wanted their employees to do something better. So one company, and both of the companies, if I said their names, they're international organizations, and your jaw would drop, like, what's Stacey doing with those companies? You'd be surprised at how many consultants like myself help big companies too, in addition to smaller companies. So both of them are big international companies. If I said their names, you would know them. And both of them had initiatives to upskill their agents, let's say agents and service personnel, because they were both service organizations. So one was a hospitality company and one was let's say business services company, but they had a call center. So both of them came to me wanting to improve service. Now, the hospitality company, they were already getting pretty great customer service scores, and they wanted to take it up a notch, and they wanted to do it company-wide. Very big initiative. Second company, the business services organization, they also wanted to improve service the way they were doing it, but they had an intention of, they were changing their performance metrics, and by changing their performance metrics, they wanted to do some basic skill building to kind of help people, at least if they didn't have the skills they needed to rate better, that this class would help them. So those were the 2 cases. Case A was a large hospitality company wanting to improve customer service, guest service, as we call in hospitality. And the other was also international company wanting to improve their business services by upskilling their employees. So very similar so far, right? Are you seeing any distinctions yet? You will. So the hospitality company, they came to me to design the program and then to start the implementation of it to reach all of their areas. So they gave me a parameter of 4 hours of content is what they wanted. 4 hours of content, and the design time, I want to say it took 6 months. So it was 4 hours of content that they wanted, 6 months was the design schedule, and they wanted to run it through several pilots first before they launched it company-wide. So that was client A. Client B, they wanted 90 minutes. I asked for 2 hours. They said no. So it went down to 90 minutes, and it was, design time was with a month, I believe. It was quite short, and it was no pilots, just go. So you might already see some differences in approaches. So we do the pilots for company A, each time refined it. That's a 4-hour class, so it's quite long. So each time getting better and better. We did it in several locations to see if like geography played into the success of the program. And so it took like another month to get it baked and set before it was launched company wide. The second client, the 90 minutes went off like gangbusters, and we ended up modifying it along the way because that's what's called agile training. Now, the problem with agile training is that the people who went through the first version of the class, they don't ultimately get the best version of the class because you just keep getting in better and better as you go. So you can already see where it's kind of diverging in approaches, where company A didn't want to launch until really felt it was perfect. Company B was, it was perfect enough, something is better than nothing. And those are two kind of critical questions you have to ask yourself is, do you want the best you can be before it goes company wide, or is it just the best that it is at that moment is good enough? What I see is more companies lean towards B, and then they wonder why they don't get the success that they were looking for. Why aren't people changing? Well, it depends a lot on what happened from the first class to, say, maybe the 10th class. And maybe the design changed so significantly that the first team, they actually need to go through class again. When you're talking ROI of training, you want to think about that as far as where are the dollars going to be spent that make the most difference and the most impact. You have to do both. I've done both with success in different ways. So really you have to think about the situation, what you're training, and what your ultimate aim is. So those are, the design features. And then we're going to move into what it was like during the implementation. So implementation, this is what, in both of these cases, I had to go to the site of the organization. So corporate wanted to do initiative, and then I went out to the different areas, let's say businesses, the regional businesses, to actually do the training. And some of it I did a train the trainer, which means that I'm training other trainers how to teach the course, because both of these companies are huge, so it's just not realistic that I did all of it. So one company, each region had a trainer, so they did training, and then the other company, we actually had other contractors with me, whom we were the team of trainers, and that we went into the different sites to do it. So you can also do different approaches with that. How are you going to train everybody all at once? Do you go slow, one trainer, or do you go fast and have multiple trainers? So other decisions that have to be made. Implementation-wise, I think the big difference is at each location of the business was how receptive was that on-site leadership to what was happening. So if your on-site leadership has no buy-in to what's going on, and they feel like they're being told what they have to do, not asked about their opinions and how it'll work, you usually get a lot of resistance, and I've gotten lots of resistance going out to different sites. I've been yelled at from the site people about the training, and of course I have nothing to do with the decisions of why the organization decided to do this or how they decided to implement it. But I'm the easy target. I get that. That kind of comes with the deal sometimes. So different approaches there of the implementation. And then also the other thing is how the site leadership, how did they encourage the employees to go? For the hospitality company overall, and this is pretty true in hospitality in general, they were pretty open and receptive, and the type of class it was a fun class. It was absolutely a fun class. It was one of my favorite projects ever, and I'm still friends with several other people who are involved with it. So it was a class away from their operation, and they got to do something a little bit different than their daily task. The other organization, they really did not set up their employees for success. It was a 24/7 call center operation, so we were teaching classes pretty much 24 hours a day. Even if somebody typically works overnight, it's still not good to do training overnight because many people they never get used to the third shift, and it's just not conducive for training, even if your trainers can stay awake. But they were more concerned about how fast we went. So that's a decision that I don't think served the project as well, is that we were doing training 24 hours a day, and it was a call center, so it was kind of cold. And being that it was cold, there were literally people who came in with blankets. Now, let me tell you, as a training expert, that is not setting people up for success when they're basically going to go to sleep on you. So you can see lots of different decisions made on these two approaches. And now I'm going to tell you what happened at the end. So you probably guessed what happened. Though the hospitality company, big success. It took a while. Some places were better than others, the adaptation, but overall, what I learned after the full implementation happened, because I wasn't a part of the full implementation, because the organization, they hired me so they could keep going on without me, and that's perfectly fine. That happens many times. They did get the score bumps that they were looking for in customer service. As you can imagine, Company B, they did not quite get the numbers that they were looking for. And I know this anecdotally because of somebody who went into the inside kind of after the project was over. How it was framed to us is that they were trying to upskill people so they could, perform to new higher training standards or performance standards. But in reality, it just seemed they were just using it as an excuse so they could cut a lot of people. And just say, at least we put them through training and gave them the chance, but that really wasn't the intention. The intention was just to do this so they could make it easier to let go of a lot of people and terminate them. And that's sometimes what happens too, and that's when you do training, learning from these two case studies, you want to go in with positive intent. You want to figure out how much you can invest up front so you're getting the best product in front of the right people at the right time, and see it all the way through to the end. And if you can do all of that, people will appreciate training. They will be able to solve your organizational problems. But it does take time, investment, and effort. But it's so worth it. I'd rather eat a healthy diet than have surgery for something I could have been preventative. And that's basically what training is getting that healthy diet in mode. So I hope this helps. I'm going to do a whole series on training because that's usually why people bring me in, is to help with initiatives around training, performance behavior, doing something different. And it all starts with good processes and good training. But I'll talk about the processes later. So we have other videos. I hope you enjoy them. Again, I'm Stacey Oliver Canapa. If I can do anything for you, just let me know. And enjoy the rest of your lunch. Have a great day.